The anti-bases coalition is very strongly against the presence of the American bases, and we would like the immediate removal of the bases. If they would leave today, we would be very happy. We would also like the removal of nuclear weapons, and we would want to stop to American intervention.
When one says he is against the presence of the military bases or against American domination in our society, this does not necessarily mean that one is automatically anti-American. While we maintain that we can be friends with the Americans, this must be a friendship based on equality and mutual respect, and not one of dominance and dependence.
Philippines remains a very important country for the United States. It's situated geographically so as to really make it important in terms of our strategic elements and strategic policy. It's our only colony, our only former colony. There are tremendous historical and cultural ties between our two countries. So despite current difficulties and despite the bases and geostrategic considerations, this is a country that is our friend and will always be our friend.
Mabagsik na sundalo, may baril at asong ulol sa tabi ng bako. Matangkad at ingat ka, huwag tatawa, huwag iiyak sa tabi ng bako.
At pagpapalikas ng gabi, maratalo sa kanunan, talutay sa hablo, at sukat sa hubaka, at
The Philippines was given to the United States by Spain at the end of the Spanish-American War, even though the Philippines had declared itself an independent republic. The U.S. granted Filipinos independence in 1946, but has maintained an active presence since then, claiming this relationship is good for both countries. More and more Filipinos are beginning to question this.
The subtlety with which American colonial policies were implemented in the Philippines started with their educational system, which they imposed on the Philippines. They robbed us of our tongue, they robbed us of our history, and therefore robbed us of our basic shield against colonial encroachments. We were granted by the Americans independence on July 4th, 1946, but what we in fact have right now is merely flag independence, because our economic system, our political system, and even our culture is dominated by Western thought, Western values. It is for this reason also that the American bases in the Philippines occupies a very significant role in our fight for independence.
Approximately 17,000 military personnel are based at Subic Naval Base and Clark Air Force Base. Altogether, the U.S. maintains 11 military facilities in the Philippines at a total cost of over $1 billion per year.
There are a number of points we emphasize when we speak to Filipinos about the bases, and the first is the bilateral relationship that's enhanced and fostered by the presence of bases and, for example, the military equipment that goes to the armed forces of the Philippines. The second is the tremendous economic benefits that are clearly supportive of Philippine development and Philippine economic status and progress. The other is the regional security benefits. The Philippines is part of a region that's very important to the Western world, that keeping the sea lines of communication is a large element in our strategy and in the strategy not only of the United States but also of other countries in the region. And the other countries of the region have clearly benefited economically. The newly industrialized countries, the tiger economies of the area have certainly benefited because of the presence of these facilities.
We have had the American presence from the 1900s. The Americans have been here. We have not developed. On the contrary, we have even sunk deeper into an economic crisis that has left more than half of our population absolutely poor. The only way for us to develop a society that will equitably distribute wealth and power, and whereby each and every Filipino will have the opportunity to have a good job, have a home to come home to every evening, raise children, send their children to school. The only way we can do that is if we begin to become completely independent of the United States.
The American bases should get out of this country. It is not doing the Filipinos and definitely the Filipinas not doing them any good whatsoever. The bases give aids to the Filipinas, the bases corrupt the local officials, the bases bring sexually transmitted diseases, the bases bring Amerasian children, the bases bring prostitution and the sale and the exploitation of women's bodies.
Nahihiya ako sa mga kamag-anak ko.
I am ashamed to face my family.
Sinasabi
They
lang
say,
sa akin, "Ikaw po,
"You prostitute." Sometimes I don't feel like going home because our relatives look down on my family's poverty.
mata pobre kami lang ang
I think we are the only poor ones among our relatives.
kamag-anak."
So I guess this is my fate,
Siguro ito lang guhit
to work in the club.
Trabaho sa club. Pagod na ako mga customer kasi siyempre pag may barko napapagod din ako.
I get really, really tired from working. I have to drink a little bit before I go to work because I can't stomach those Americans. They get on my nerves.
Talaga ito makatagal na yan.
I think the bases are gonna go. Yeah, I'd like them to leave. Look, the Americans do come here, but then they're all crazies, and you can't really make good money. I think I could make a living even if those bases weren't around. I could find some other job, or maybe I could just go home and plant rice. I'm tired of working in the clubs.
Magtrabaho sa club.
Ang Buklod ay isang drop-in center ng mga babaeng nagtatrabaho sa bar at
Buklod is a drop-in center for the women who work at the bars. It was specifically established to address their problems. There has been a great need for this. The objective of our center is to empower these women. We really need to enlighten them and to open their eyes to their real situation in the bars. The bases really have a big effect. The incidence of AIDS has increased here in Olongapo. Starting from 9, now 46 people have AIDS. So the R&R industry has had a big effect.
Kaya malaki ang ng na yan ng R&R industry na yan dito. Isa pang naging epekto ng R&R industry dito sa Olongapo ay yung
One other effect of the R&R industry here in Olongapo is the increased number of Amerasians. There are 4,000 registered Amerasian children who are not being supported by the Americans.
If in the event we cannot come to an agreement that's in the interest of both countries, we are prepared to disperse our forces around the region and not lose the kind of security foundation that we've managed to develop over the past 4 decades. It would probably cost money, definitely cost money, perhaps more than maintaining the bases, but it would be in our interest to continue to do that. What it means for the Philippines, of course, is something else, and I think it alters fundamentally U.S.-Philippine relations.
If the bases were in fact to be removed from the Philippines could even benefit more economically. In other words, generate even much more income productively from these bases compared to what we are presently getting from the United States monetarily.
Sumisweldo ako ng 33 pesos and 60 centavos an hour.
I earn $1.40 an hour, but it's not quite enough. We still have a hard time making ends meet. It's hard work, and sometimes they give us a tough time, so that's one thing we're reacting to. The pay's low compared to what they make in other countries.
Kung ikaw kumpara sa ibang bansa, hanggat nandito sila, well, papasokan ko siya dahil
while the base is here, well, I'll go work there to earn money to support my family. Now, if they leave, that's okay too. There's nothing we can do anyway if they go. Of course, then, I'll have to think of a way to support the family and still apply the little education I have. But the advantage of removing the bases, particularly here in Olongapo, especially for growing children, I think, is if we could also get rid of all the clubs.
I think American policies should change, not just for the benefit of the third world, but for the benefit of the U.S. as well. I think the American people should realize that the United States is the largest consumer in the world, and yet it relies on the wealth that is found in the third world. The oil, the gold, the coffee, the minerals, the food that is produced in the third world are eaten in the United States. And unfortunately, the food producers are the ones that go hungry.
I think Americans should hammer and pound on their own back doors because it comes from there. More of your tax dollar goes into military spending than it goes into social services. And so America's policy of R&R and U.S. bases in foreign countries only puts your tax dollar into militarism, into war, into nuclear warfare, into miles away from peace. What it does is oppress us, is exploit our natural resources, endanger our national sovereignty, and the list is endless. This is American foreign policy, and you are paying for this.
The United States has 375 bases and nearly 4,500 nuclear weapons in foreign countries. Over 600,000 U.S. military personnel are stationed abroad. These bases cost U.S. taxpayers over $90 billion per year.
May mabagsik na sundalo, may baril at asong ulol sa tabi ng